I could feel my pulse quicken as I hurried through the kitchen, the lingering smell of cinnamon tea mixing with the tension hanging between us. It had started innocently enough, it always does. It was late afternoon when Ethan arrived at my house. My son, Liam, was away for the weekend, and I had asked Ethan to come over and help with a few chores. I had always liked Ethan. He was warm, kind, and the type of person who made others feel at ease, but lately, something had shifted between us. I could feel it, and I knew he could too. When I opened the door, I greeted him with a smile that felt like more than just a friendly welcome. "Ethan, thank you so much for coming," I said, trying to keep my voice warm and inviting, though my heart pounded. I looked at him a moment longer than necessary, feeling the heat rise in my chest as he stepped inside. We ended up in the kitchen, sharing a pot of tea I had just made. I moved gracefully, wearing a simple dress that floated around me as I walked. I noticed the way his eyes tried not to linger on me, how he struggled not to look at how the fabric hugged my figure. We talked for a while about nothing in particular, Liam, my garden, the weather, but there was an unspoken tension, a sense of something more. It wasn't just in the words we didn't say, it was in every glance, every subtle touch. Our eyes met, and we paused, both of us silent. The quiet hung between us, thick with everything we hadn't said. "You've been such a help lately, Ethan," I said softly, my gaze never leaving his. "It's nice to have you around." I reached out, my fingers brushing against his hand, a simple touch, but one that sent shivers through my body. He cleared his throat, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm happy to help," he said, but his voice was strained, barely there. My hand lingered, my fingers tracing along his, soft and deliberate. I could feel it, something more than gratitude in the way I touched him, something neither of us had admitted. My heart pounded as I looked at him, and I knew he could see the emotion in my eyes. It was complicated, this connection between us. He was my son's best friend. We weren't supposed to be here, but the intensity of the moment felt undeniable. I took a deep breath and stood slowly, meeting his gaze. Our eyes held an unspoken connection, each of us aware of the depth of our friendship and the warmth that had grown over time. I placed a hand on his shoulder, expressing my gratitude for his support. "You've always been so kind to me," I whispered with genuine appreciation. He returned a gentle smile, perhaps sensing the layered emotions we both carried. I stood close, and we exchanged a quiet moment of understanding. I held his hand, a simple gesture that symbolized the comfort and trust we had developed. "Ethan," he began softly, as if searching for the right words, but I gave a reassuring nod, grateful for his presence and care. We shared a brief, comforting embrace, a connection that felt meaningful yet respectful. In that instant, he stood with a gentle, supportive grip, lifting my spirits as I held onto him. The moment was one of mutual respect and care, as we both silently acknowledged the importance of our friendship. The world seemed to pause, leaving us in a moment filled with meaning, as if everything around us had faded away. We broke apart for a breath, and I looked at him, his face flushed, his eyes dark with longing. "We shouldn't," I whispered, my voice trembling. But even as I spoke, my body pressed closer to his, my hands pulling him closer. "I know," he whispered back, his fingers caressing my waist, "but I can't stop, and neither could I." We stumbled backward, our lips finding each other again, the heat between us growing with every moment. He lifted me onto the counter, his hands running over me, feeling me, needing me. I wrapped myself around him, my hands exploring, each touch more intense, more electric. There was no going back. Maybe we knew at the moment we crossed that line, but none of it mattered now. Later, as we sat on the couch together, the weight of what we'd done settled between us. Neither of us could bring ourselves to break the silence. I rested my head against his shoulder, my hand gently on his chest. "I don't know what's happening," I whispered, my voice almost lost in the quiet of the room, "but I don't want it to stop." He kissed the top of my head, his hand gently covering mine, Neither do I, he murmured. I relaxed against him. Whatever this was taking hold of us, something neither of us could deny or resist.